Marta is an incredibly brave lady who decided to adopt a giant pit bull. Her friends and family did everything they could to warn her about the risks, but she didn't listen to them. However, a year later, the neighbors heard horrifying screams. Can I tell you this story? Then go ahead and hit that like button, and let's get into the video. In a small town in northern Europe, something unusual and strange was happening. The residents were afraid to leave their homes, but it wasn't fear of robbery or anything like that. In fact, it was a dog that was terrorizing the residents. Marta was a very authentic lady. Just like the other residents, she had heard about the terrifying animal, but she had a lot of courage. Marta was a kind woman, and everyone in the neighborhood tried to warn her about the danger of going out. But, like most people in her town, she was also very stubborn and didn't listen to those stories. She didn't share the same mindset as the others, believing that the poor dog must want something. After all, why would a dog be after them for no reason? On a normal day, Marta got up and had her breakfast. The day was cold, but the weather was pleasant. She decided to go out because she needed to buy some medicines that had run out. But little did she know what she would encounter on the way. The woman followed a trail to reach the store, but in the middle of the path, something stopped her. The dreaded dog was standing right in front of her. At that moment, she understood why people were so afraid. It was a pit bull, and it was really huge, but that didn't shake her or make her feel scared. Despite its size, it seemed lost and in need of help, and she was willing to assist the poor dog. She approached him slowly and realized that he was well taken care of and seemed very healthy, despite being a bit dirty. The pit bull also appeared a bit confused, and Marta noticed that all he wanted was some food. She definitely wasn't afraid of him, but she had some doubts in her mind. How did he end up in my neighborhood? Where is his owner? Did he run away or was he abandoned? She began talking to the animal, and to her surprise, he started wagging his tail and licking her hand, as if he truly understood her. The dog was really sweet, but because of his size and breed, he was scaring the neighborhood. Marta decided to take him to her home, at least for a few days, as she knew he wouldn't survive much longer on the streets. She started walking back home and called the pit bull to follow her. He obeyed and began to follow her. On the way, her neighbor stopped the car to greet her, but got startled when he saw that enormous dog. He warned Marta that it was too risky to have him around and that she should leave him on the street because no one knew what he might do at any moment. However, she knew that those words were only coming from a fearful person. But just by looking at that poor animal, she felt that he needed help and proceeded with her decision to take him home. When they arrived, the dog seemed shy and afraid to enter, but after a little insistence, he finally relented. Marta prepared some food for him since she knew he was hungry. After eating, he seemed so content that he lay down to sleep. The dog was trembling from the cold, so she fetched a blanket to keep him warm. In the first few days, he continued to act timidly. No one knows what he went through alone on the streets, but he adapted very well to Marta's house and, after some time, it seemed like he had always lived there. Most of the time, he was very happy, but sometimes he cried at night. Marta supposed that he must be missing his old owners, so even though it pained her heart, she put up posters around the town to find them, but she never did. The pit bull regained his strength and even received the name Hercules. He stayed by his new owner's side all the time. Marta had children and grandchildren, but they had moved to the big city and rarely visited. However, they always kept in touch over the phone. Despite the frequent calls, this sweet lady felt sad and lonely, but now she had a loyal friend to keep her company, and that filled her heart with joy. Whenever Hercules heard a strange noise, he barked to try to keep evil away, and no one dared to step into her yard. However, this led to a series of rumors about her new friend. The neighbors continued to fear the animal and judged Marta for bringing such a threat close to them, insisting that she should take Hercules to an animal shelter. They accused her, saying she was too old to take care of such a big animal, but she continued to ignore everyone because she loved the time she spent with Hercules. She enjoyed sitting in her chair in front of the fireplace and telling stories to her Hercules. She could swear he understood everything she said. The two of them developed a surprising and genuine friendship. This story could have a happy ending if it ended here, but that wasn't the case. One weekend, her children and grandchildren came to visit. Marta's grandchildren quickly made friends with Hercules. Her children were apprehensive because the dog was huge and could potentially harm the children, but they trusted their mother's word that nothing like that would ever happen. The children were not afraid at all. On the contrary, they always wanted to play with Hercules. The dog had so much fun and loved playing and running with the children. He had never been happier, as he received constant attention. The family was going to spend a week at Marta's house to catch up, but something terrible was about to happen. Near her house, there was a small lake. It was beautiful and calm. Her grandchildren loved that place and always stayed by the edge with their feet in the water. It was summer, and they wanted to go to the lake. They asked if they could take Hercules, and he was very excited about the idea. However, Marta didn't allow it because she was afraid he might get lost again, as she loved her new friend dearly and didn't want to lose him. Marta had to tie the dog so he wouldn't go with the boys. The chain was quite fragile, but it was just to make him obey. The boys went to the lake. The younger one knew how to swim and decided to go into the water for a swim, while the older one stayed by the edge with his feet in the water. But suddenly, something horrifying happened. Marta and her children were inside the house, talking, when they suddenly heard loud, high-pitched screams. Everyone was shocked, and some neighbors rushed out, fearing that Hercules was attacking someone. Marta went to show that he was still tied up, but when she looked at the broken chain in the yard, she was in shock. For the first time, she felt afraid of the gigantic pit bull and feared the worst. The screams didn't stop, and her children ran to the lake. Marta was afraid of what she would find there, but when she arrived, she had an incredible surprise. When her younger grandson went into the water, he slipped on a rock and fell into a hole in the lake. Despite knowing how to swim, he panicked and couldn't surface, struggling in the water. His brother couldn't help him and could only shout for help as loudly as he could. Hercules heard and broke the chain as if it was nothing, running towards them. In a great act of courage, he jumped into the water to save the drowning boy. He pulled him out of the water, saving his life. Everyone was astonished by the scene they had just witnessed. The boy explained what happened, and the neighbors couldn't believe that the same dog they once considered a monster had just saved the boy from a terrible fate. From that day on, Hercules was never treated as a threat again. The neighbors, who had been afraid before, allowed their children to visit him. From a giant monster, he became the neighborhood's great hero. Dogs of this breed are truly misunderstood animals, but stories like Hercules are not uncommon. Did you like this story? Then subscribe to the channel to discover more incredible stories. Thank you so much for watching and leaving a like on this video. See you next time.